Assalamu alaikum. My name is Riva Khan and I'm 16 years old. I'm currently studying at Learning Alliance International in the IB program and am a student in DP2, which could be considered as an equivalent to second year of A-levels. I'm also on an academic scholarship. Most of my hobbies or interests include fun or basic things that most kids my age do nowadays, that include debating. So I've been to several debates competitions over the past few years. That involves going to the United Nations, to Geneva in 2019, I believe, and winning the Best Delegate Award over there. I think today what I mainly did want to talk about was something that I've brought up before. I actually have my own blog, and over there with a good friend of mine, Isa Nofal, I spoke about negative body image. And I believe it's something everyone struggles with on a daily basis. And I think there's very few people I know of who don't struggle with the occasional insecurities that come with, when one of us feels that discomfort in our own skin. So over the course of my podcast with Isa, we spoke about, our own journeys and our own experiences with our body, and how often at times we feel targeted by social media and the common advertisements that we see while we are using social media. So whether that is some super diet plan that we see randomly as we're scrolling, or it's some influencer or model telling us to try these new stretch bands or exercises or routines and endorsing all these brands, and how, whether that's any of those things, how it makes us feel targeted almost, because reality is actually very different compared to what we see online. As far as my experience with body image goes, considering I am 16 and am at that peak age during my teens, it is something I've struggled with quite a bit. The feeling of waking up every morning and thinking, should I be wearing this? Should I be doing this? Should I be doing my hair this way? I think it's something I've definitely struggled with it, and I know a lot of my friends who have as well. And so the way that I see it is that when it comes to our bodies and the way we see ourselves, I think everyone's on this different spectrum almost. I mean, there's a few of us who are so deeply invested in what our body says about who we are that it is like we are a constant threat to ourselves in some way. And I think people actually underestimate the intensity with which we feel that dislike or that discomfort with our body, and how at times teenagers can go to certain lengths to sort of combat or maybe soothe that discomfort. And in my experience, with teens younger than me, kids younger than me, teens older than me, I've mainly seen them go to all sorts of lengths, whether that is hurting themselves physically or purging, or, there's like a variety of things that are uncomfortable to talk about, but it's very real. We really do that to ease that discomfort and to make ourselves feel better maybe about ourselves. We go to those very unsafe lengths. And so I think there's so many layers to it, and we don't necessarily see that. When you look at someone every day, you don't necessarily consider the fact that maybe the discomfort that they feel in the tiny, small ways and the small things they do, whether that's like picking up their bag from the side and placing it in front of their, stomach and just hugging it like this, or, whether that's them wearing oversized shirts or any of that. Like, we don't really see that there's so much more behind why they're doing that. So yeah, I think that's definitely something to consider as well. The fact that everything we do has so many layers to it, and it isn't always as obvious. And so I guess in some way that also tunes into how people at times say that there's a lot more going, like you look at someone and you think they're so great and they must be so happy with themselves because they're either so beautiful or attractive or any of those things. And believe it or not, teenagers are actually within my experience, we're very, very caught up with looks and with what one is wearing and how one's hair is done and all those things. Even if we say that we think it's naive to be into that or to feel attracted to that, we actually give into it ourselves. And so, again, like I said, it tunes into looking at someone and thinking, wow, they must be so happy with who they are right now, and they must be so happy that they look this way. But it isn't necessarily like that, because you don't know the amount of hurt or insecurity that they feel on a daily basis just within themselves. So I think the first thing that, for me, as someone who has struggled deeply for a long time with negative body image and not feeling the best about myself, I think the first would be to kind of normalize the fact that we all do feel that way, that we all do feel insecure at times about our bodies. We don't like the way we look. We don't like if our calves look too big or our arms look too chubby, or if we're too skinny even. And so normalizing the fact that there is a certain amount of value we put on our bodies, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's something we all do collectively. Lastly, I suppose one additional thing is learning to be kinder to ourselves, because I think that's something everyone, doesn't matter if you're a teenager or not, everyone struggles with being kind to themselves, and in any capacity, to be honest. But an example of what being kind to yourself looks like is days where you're bloated and days where your face is redder or your arms are chubbier or you look skinnier or any of those things. Days where you don't feel yourself, you need to be okay and accepting of your body and understand the fact that it works so hard to keep you moving, to keep you alive, to keep you breathing, to keep you doing all the things that you want to do. And I think it deserves love for that. And I think it deserves more care and more gentleness for that.